Unbelievable LASD Code 3, what they found at 3 a.m. will haunt you forever. The clock struck 3, slicing the silence of the night with a piercing clarity. Shadows danced across the barren streets of East Los Angeles as sirens wailed in the distance. The grizzled officers of the LASD had seen it all, but nothing could prepare them for the chilling discovery that awaited them. A call had come in a routine check turned nightmarish. The air was thick with nerves, and every officer felt it the impending doom that lurked just beyond comprehension. As they arrived, the old warehouse loomed like a forgotten specter, its paint chipped and peeling, oozing a grotesque history. But it was the strange outline in the moonlight that beckoned them closer, a rickety door, ajar, creaking as if whispering secrets buried long ago. Each step echoed in their ears like a heartbeat, quickening their pulses. What were they walking into? They hesitated. "Did you hear that?" one rookie officer whispered, his eyes wide with dread. The murmurs of unease rippled through the squad. It wasn't just the fear, it was the inexplicable sense that something was watching them, something alive, buried in the shadows. An uneasy tension wrapped around them like a vice, squeezing tighter. Inside, the air felt different. It wasn't just stale, it was charged, alive with a peculiar energy. The dim beam of their flashlights illuminated walls plastered with fading graffiti. But it was the floor that snagged their attention, a peculiar dark stain that seeped into the cracks. What could it be? Panic bubbled beneath their bravado. A sudden noise, a scuttling skitter, or was it a soft rustle? Breathless silence followed, punctuated only by the distant hum of the city that felt worlds away. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Their fingers tingled as they gripped their flashlights tighter. Then, an old radio crackled to life, spitting static before a chilling voice cut through. "Officers, do you copy? Leave now, danger." The warning hung in the air, charged with desperation. Every hair on their body stood on end. They were not prepared for what they would find next. Suddenly, the warehouse wasn't just a building, it was a locked vault of nightmares waiting to be unearthed. They peered deeper into the darkness, heartbeats drumming loud in their ears. What hidden terror lay ahead? A flicker of movement caught them off guard, just beyond the shadows, threatening to unveil truths they were never meant to see. And in that moment, a chilling thought struck: maybe some doors are better left unopened. What would they discover if they dared to step forward? The air in the warehouse closed in on them like a vice, thick with fear and uncertainty. The team huddled closer, their eyes darting to the flickering shadows flitting across the walls. The rookie officer, Ramirez, squinted into the darkness, his heart pounding against his chest like a drum. Then it happened. A harsh crash echoed from deeper within, sending a shockwave of terror through the group. Instinct kicked in, and they instinctively raised their flashlights, the beams of light trembling as they aimed into the abyss. "Stay sharp," Sergeant Martinez urged, his voice a low growl but still laced with a hint of panic. "We don't know what's in here." Another crash reverberated, followed by a low, guttural sound that made their stomachs churn. It was like nothing they had ever heard, a mix of pain and fury. "What was that?" whispered Johnson, another officer, his face pale beneath the harsh beam of their lights. "Let us move," Martinez commanded. They pressed forward, each step weighted with dread, forcing themselves into the maw of the unknown. The shadows seemed to pulse and writhe around them, ominous and alive. Just then, a figure materialized in the corner of their lights, a brief silhouette before it vanished into the dark like smoke. "Did you see that?" Ramirez gasped. Fear writhed in his gut as reality closed in. The warehouse was becoming a labyrinth, every turn plunging them deeper into the nightmare. Suddenly, the radio crackled again. "Leave now. You're in danger." The static roared, drowning out everything else. Each officer exchanged wide-eyed glances. What kind of danger? What had they stumbled into? "Come on, let us keep moving," Martinez urged, adrenaline kicking in. The group pushed forward, hearts pounding like marching drums. They rounded a corner to find another room, or what was left of it. Scattered debris littered the ground, but it wasn't what caught their attention. On the wall, something dark and menacing had been scrawled in jagged letters. "They know you here." The words dripped with urgency, as if they were alive. A chill raced down their spines, causing them to step back, grappling with a mixture of confusion and fear. A deeper shadow murmured from behind a pile of wreckage, further tightening the grip of terror in their chests. "I'm not liking this," Ramirez breathed, sweat beading on his forehead. Just as they shifted to leave, the ground trembled beneath them. A hidden trapdoor swung open, dark and inviting. A foul stench wafted up, curling around them like a ghostly hand. "No way," murmured Johnson, eyes wide with disbelief. A fleeting image flickered in the recesses of his mind. Bodies. What was down there? "Stay together," Martinez shouted, as he took a step back to survey their options. They were trapped between the abyss below and the nightmares lurking above. Suddenly, the radio beeped again, and a new voice broke through, hasty, frantic. "Officers, you have to get out quickly. It's watching." His eyes are everywhere. Just when they thought they might get a grip on their situation, the lights above flickered, casting the room into an eerie twilight. Something was stirring in the shadows, something alive and hungry. Fear rose like bile in their throats, and the echo of their own breaths filled the silence. But where would they go? And what lay beneath them? The dreadful questions swirled like a storm, threatening to pull them under. As they hesitated, uncertainty gnawed at their resolve. They could either flee into the unknown darkness or confront the sinister truth that awaited. The decision loomed over them like a guillotine, ready to drop. "Move!" Sergeant Martinez shouted suddenly, the urgency in his voice snapping them from their stupor. "We have to figure this out now." And just as they stepped closer to a decision, a countenance broke through the shadows, grinning with malevolence. "Welcome," it whispered, its voice dripping with malicious intent. What awaited them in that uncertain dark? Did they dare step towards the truth, or were they too late to escape? As they turned, the door behind them slammed shut, sealing their fate. The echo of the door slamming shut wrapped around them like the fog, heavy and suffocating. Martinez's heart raced, pounding so fiercely that it felt like it might burst right out of his chest. The shadows encroached, thick and swirling. Each officer stood rooted to the spot, grappling with the reality of their predicament. "Why is it dark? Why can't I see anything?" Ramirez stammered, clutching his flashlight as if it were a lifeline. His voice betrayed a mix of fear and disbelief. "We just need to find a way out," Johnson said, his eyes darting around the room, scanning for any flicker of hope. His bravado only masked the panic that gripped his throat like a vice. "Keep your voices down," Martinez hissed, glancing back at the representation of evil that had just spoken, a silhouette barely illuminated now, its edges blurred like a sick dream. "Whatever that is," he swallowed hard, "it doesn't want us here." As if to confirm his words, the rumble from the shadows deepened, a low growl resonating from who knows where, striking the very core of their resolve. The sound was almost human, but twisted, as if wrapped in agony, a cry for help turned inside out. With a shaking breath, Martinez stepped forward cautiously. The trapdoor gaped at their feet like a maw, the putrid scent intensifying as he approached. "I'll check this out," he announced, forcing a tone of confidence he didn't possess. "Are you crazy?" Ramirez gasped. "What if there's something down there?" Panic sparked across his features, and he hesitated, the light flickering in his grasp. "The only way we move forward is into the dark," Martinez replied firmly. As he forced himself to peer down into the abyss, the darkness appeared almost liquid. It seemed to ripple, almost alive, as if whatever lay below was breathing, ready to draw them in. The heavy silence stretched out, suffocating, until suddenly a sharp scrape rang out, breaking the stillness like glass shattering into a million shards. The team jolted. Johnson's flashlight flickered, momentarily casting a frantic beam across the depths, revealing a pair of piercing eyes reflecting back at them, glowing, hungry, watching. The very air turned electric with terror. "Get away from the edge!" Martinez yelled, adrenaline surging through him. The base of the trapdoor creaked ominously, as if it would give way at any moment, swallowing anyone too close. The growl intensified, growing into a cacophony of frenzied howls that seemed to linger in their bones. "Upstairs! We need to find another way!" Johnson shouted, regret spilling from his voice. Panic tugged at their minds as they collectively turned from the darkness, glancing for possible escape routes. Just as they moved to the stairwell, another crash reverberated off the walls, deafening and echoing, sending a shiver down their spines. Then the radio blared again. "You can't escape. It wants you." A distorted voice shrieked, filled with terror that was all too familiar. Martinez lunged back, cutting through the dissonance in a fierce command, "Shut it off. Now!" They scrambled, elbows knocking as the group tried to turn down the volume, panic spiraling. But the warning continued, the rhythm growing wild and distorted. It was chaos, and with it, something primal stirred in their very souls. With a sickening hiss, the light fixtures above them sputtered, flickering on and off. Each flicker bore witness to the grotesque figure they had seen just moments ago, inching closer, each pulse in the dim lighting unveiling something that belonged to nightmares. "A trap," Ramirez whispered, realizing it too late. The walls seemed to pulsate, and they were again forced to confront the chosen paths, the terror below or the threats looming near. The choice stood before them, unblinking and real. Time surged forward, then it came, a figure darting from the shadows, long and twisted. "Dinner's ready." It laughed, the sound shrill as knives. Did they stand and fight, or dive headfirst into the darkness waiting below? The choice loomed larger, threatening to tear them apart from the inside. And then a mighty crash from above deafened their surroundings as a shadow fell, darkening their escape. Was it finally time to find out what it wanted? The air thickened with panic as the officers scrambled away from the trapdoor, instinct overriding reason. Martinez shot a glance back, the malevolent glow of the eyes below still seared into his mind. The sound of splintering wood echoed as something heavy thumped against the ceiling above, shaking loose dust and debris that rained down on them like ash. "Head to the stairwell," Johnson shouted, eyes wide with fear. They bolted, adrenaline firing every nerve ending, feet pounding against the floor as one in a desperate sprint. Behind them, laughter echoed, a twisted melody of glee that sent chills racing through their bodies. Just as they reached the landing, the lights flickered again, dimming abruptly until only shadows remained. The corridor felt suffocating, like it was closing in on them, walls narrowing into a claustrophobic embrace. Martinez pushed through the door, leading the others into the dimness. "Stay close, no separation," he barked, the command punctuating the heavy silence. Ramirez shot a glance over his shoulder, tremors rippling through him. "What if it finds us up here? Then we fight." Martinez snapped, fear igniting a spark of determination. "We can't let it take us down." But hope felt fragile, like a spider's web dangling on the brink of destruction. They stumbled into another room, its corners swallowed by shadows, cold air licking at their exposed skin. Then thud. The door they had just come through slammed shut as if by unseen hands, sealing their escape. The group turned, hearts pounding, back to back as they faced the blank expanse of dark. "It's playing with us," Johnson breathed, his voice wavering. "It's toying with us like a cat with its prey." A low growl emanated from the corners of the room, sharp and hungry. Martinez swallowed hard. He remembered the radio's warning. The creature felt like a predator, drawn to their fear. "Is there anything in here we can use?" he asked, scanning the room. They had to find a way to defend themselves. A glance at the walls revealed nothing but peeling paint and dirt. A table lay ahead, its surface littered with broken glass and rusted metal pieces. "Grab something," Johnson urged, and cautiously, they crawled toward the table, salvaging whatever they could: shards of glass, a rusted wrench. Another noise blasted through the air, a painful screech that reverberated against their bones. With bleary eyes, they turned, and there it was, a figure, silhouetted, stretching up, impossibly long against the far wall. Its laugh, a manic cackle, echoed, bouncing against surfaces that felt too suffocating to be real. "Let us see how brave you really are," it jeered, a voice fractured like glass. They clutched their makeshift weapons, hearts in throats, feeling both the weight of despair and the rush of defiance. "Stay calm," Martinez whispered, though his voice trembled. "When it comes, we strike." The figure moved, and with each motion, they felt their sanity slipping, a haunting blend of reality and nightmare mingling together. It danced between shadows, lurking just out of reach, waiting to pounce. Then, scratching sounds emerged from the walls, a relentless scratching that sent them straining against the confines of fear. The walls were alive. "What is it doing?" Ramirez whispered, his breath hitching as he pressed against Johnson. "I don't know," came the hushed, stricken response. "But we have to find a way out now." Martinez felt the urgency spike within him as the shadows writhed together, a storm of darkness closing in around them. They needed to act, needed to make a move before the creature forced their hands. A sudden light flared behind them, flashes of hope in a realm of despair. Was it salvation or another trap? "Turn around," Martinez yelled, as the figure lunged, its ecstatic laughter ringing in their ears. As they spun, the trapdoor loomed behind them again, inviting, taunting. Would the darkness below offer refuge or be their ultimate demise? With the creature's breath hot against them, they had no choice. Would they gamble on the abyss or fight the monster they could see? They had to decide before it was too late. The room held its breath. Darkness pressed in, squeezing the air from their lungs. Martinez's heart raced as he fought against the rising tide of panic. The figure's laughter echoed again, a cruel reminder that they had little time left. "Now!" he shouted, raising the rusted wrench above his head, its weight grounding him momentarily. Johnson clutched a shard of glass, eyes darting back and forth, looking for shadows among shadows. Ramirez trembled, a shiver running through him like a live wire. Before they could react, the figure lunged. Its limbs extended impossibly long, breaking the laws of shadow and light. It was a mass of black, an eternity of night, with a face that shifted, never quite forming into anything recognizable. It reached for them, fingers like talons, glinting with an unnatural hunger. "Strike!" Martinez yelled, swinging the wrench. It connected with a sickening thud, and for a brief moment, the laughter turned into a screech of rage that vibrated through the floorboards. But the creature didn't retreat. Instead, it twisted, anger fueling its movements, slamming its elongated body against the walls. Dust and splinters rained down upon them, obscuring their view. Desperation clawed at Martinez's chest like the creature's own hands. "Get back!" Johnson yelled, feebly swiping at the darkness with his makeshift weapon. Shadows danced in response, swirling around them, driving home the sense that escape was slowly slipping away. The scratching grew louder, a frenzy of claws against wood. The walls were alive and hungry. "What is happening?" Ramirez screamed, pressing against the door, but it held firm. Martinez glanced around, urgency sparking new resolve. "We need more light, something to see it." He sprinted to the corner of the room where an old lantern lay half hidden beneath debris. With trembling hands, he fumbled to turn it on, bringing the flame to life. The room flickered to a dim brightness, illuminating jagged edges of the creature as it recoiled slightly from the glow. "What's next?" Johnson asked, fear creeping into his voice as the figure lurked just at the edge of the light, a menacing silhouette. Martinez squared his shoulders. We make a stand. It's terrified of the light, we can't let it out of our sight. The words felt shaky, but steadied the fists around their meager weapons. They formed a circle, the flickering flame holding back the shadows, but the creature only grew angrier. It writhed and snapped at the edge of the lantern's reach, a beastly form caught between worlds. Then, amidst the chaos, a realization hit. The walls! Martinez yelled, pointing. They're connected somehow. It's using them to trap us. If we can find a way to break through. Without waiting for further words, Ramirez lunged towards the wall nearest him, wielding the glass shard like a dagger. He slashed at the peeling paint, his breaths shallow and quick. Don't make a noise. Johnson hissed, but the scratching grew louder, almost as if in fury for its secret being exposed. Martinez followed suit, attacking the wall with renewed vigor. With each stroke, terror flickered as the room shifted, shadows swirling dangerously close. Suddenly the wall trembled, a low rumble that filled their chests and sent panic shooting through them. Then, as if the creature sensed their desperation, it lunged again, this time breaking the boundary of light, hands grasping and groping over the table toward them. Martinez, look out! Johnson shouted, but it was too late. As the wall cracked, the shadows exploded, the edges erupting into a nightmarish blend of shrieks and hisses. The light flickered ominously, threatening to die as chaos consumed the room. Martinez's heart dropped, and in one final attempt, he hurled the lantern at the beast, a desperate plea for survival. The glass shattered, and flames erupted, dizzying shadows clawing at the creature, but as the chaos ensued, the walls trembled again, and something shifted behind them. A doorway fluttered open, a glimpse of light beyond. Go! Martinez yelled, adrenaline flooding his veins as the creature writhed in agony. Would it be a path to freedom or another trap? With no time left, would they dare to leap into the unknown, or trust the darkness they just fought against? Would this path lead to salvation or their end? The choice lay before them, a gamble hanging by a thread. They barely thought, just acted. With a wild rush, Martinez surged toward the doorway. The flickering flames cast desperate shadows that twisted around them like frantic whispers, urging them on. He could feel the creature's rage, its gnashing limbs snapping at something just out of reach. Come on! He shouted, his voice raw as panic licked at his sanity. Johnson rushed forward, gripping the shard tighter, while Ramirez hesitated, looking back at the swirling darkness. Ramirez! Martinez yelled again, his heart pounding fiercely in his chest. He saw Ramirez's face, it was a mask of fear and indecision. Shadows crawled closer, their edges sharp and hungry. A scream, the sound of Johnson's voice being swallowed whole, spurred the final push. Now, go! Martinez shouted, grabbing Ramirez and yanking him into motion. They dove through the doorway, bodies tumbling as they landed on cold, hard ground. The abrupt chill washed over them, a stark contrast to the terror left behind. They rolled, scrambling to their feet in a different room. This one was better lit, with muted golden light emanating from old lamps casting flickers across dusty furniture. The air felt alive, almost electric, as the door closed with a heavy thud behind them, sealing off the nightmare that chased them. For a moment, they stood, gasping, their bodies shaking. Did we make it? Ramirez asked, eyes wide with disbelief, scanning their new surroundings. Martinez squinted into the dim room, shadows still stretched like old memories. But they weren't free yet, they could still feel that presence lingering just beyond the threshold. We have to move, he urged. In their haste, they began to explore the room. It was filled with scattered furniture, broken mirrors, and walls adorned with faded photographs. The air was thick, and every sound echoed, making it hard to tell if they were truly safe. Johnson's breath hitched as he approached a portrait, its glass rimmed with dust. This doesn't feel right. What is this place? Martinez joined him, and they leaned in closer. The faces in the painting stared back at them, eyes hollow, smiles too wide. Look at those dates, Johnson pointed, fingers shaking, they're all from the late 1800s. Who are these people? But just as the thought settled, an ominous noise thumped from behind them like the low rumble of thunder, only more sinister. The door behind them shuddered violently, splintering as something pounded against it. That thing can't follow us in here, Ramirez whispered, though doubt colored his voice. It felt like a lie, one he forced himself to believe. No, we need to find a way out, Martinez said, fear squeezing tightly around his chest. There must be another exit. They started searching, hearts racing with urgency, raking through the scattered debris. But the thumping grew louder, more relentless. It was like the walls themselves were breathing, alive with anticipation, and then came a voice, low and menacing, slithering through the cracks. Leaving so soon? Each of them froze, bodies tense with unrelenting dread as they turned toward the sound. The edges of the room warped, shadows bending to mold into a familiar form, an echo of the creature they thought they'd escaped. No. Martinez gasped, realization flooding him like ice water. It's here. As it moved closer, the portraits began to shift, the painted faces now twisted in pain, as if witnessing their own demise. The creature laughed, a cold, chilling resonance that sent new waves of terror coursing through them. Are you ready to play? It hissed, its elongated arms reaching from the shadows, promising more than just terror. It offered despair. The room shrank around them, their escape dwindling as the creature prepared to claim them. Would they become just another face in the haunting gallery, trapped forever in a painting of fear? Together, they braced themselves, adrenaline coursing through them like fire. Whatever secrets lay in this cursed place, they had to uncover them all while the monster closed in on their fading hope. Could they find a way to fight back, or was this their final performance in a theater of horrors? The answers loomed just out of reach, a whisper away, but nothing could prepare them for the truth they would soon uncover. Martinez's heart raced, a drumbeat of fear echoing in his ears. There was no time for hesitation. We have to fight, he shouted, though his voice trembled with uncertainty. Ramirez turned sharply, eyes widening. Fight? Are you crazy? That thing will tear us apart. But the creature was closing in, its silhouette distorting like smoke against the flickering lights. The portraits around them moaned softly, their paints cracking as if they too were alive, begging for release from a torment beyond comprehension. We can't let it take us, Johnson yelled, brandishing the shard he'd picked up. It glimmered with a strange light, and for a fleeting moment, hope flickered in Martinez's chest. Yeah, let us stab it. I mean, what else do we have? Ramirez quipped, his bravado shaking. As the creature lunged forward, they instinctively took a step back. No. We stand together, Martinez commanded, forcing them to form a line. It's afraid of us. Remember that. The laughter of the creature twisted through the air, bitter and mocking. You think unity can save you? I've devoured entire souls, what makes you think you're special? The elongated arms swung closer, a cacophony of darkness gathering around them like a suffocating blanket. Feeling the surge of desperation, they rushed toward their own fears. Now! Johnson shouted, hacking at the air with the shard. The creature recoiled momentarily, its laughter replaced with a hiss of surprise. This is working. They pressed on, shoulders brushing against each other, feeling both terrified and exhilarated. Suddenly, the room lurched. The walls shimmered as if the entire space was a mirage, warping their senses. The portraits erupted with color, shadows morphing into ghastly figures trapped in silent screams, reaching for freedom. Just focus on the shard, it's the only thing we have, Martinez shouted. As the creature summoned more power from the darkness, the oppressive weight of despair pressed down hard. The portraits groaned and buckled, the painted faces contorting into expressions of horror. Martinez's resolve swelled. We've come too far to back down now. If this thing feeds off our fear, we need to challenge it. He took a breath, feeling the pulse of adrenaline ignite his center. Together. On 3. 1, 2, 3. They roared towards the darkness. As Johnson swung the shard wildly, he felt a surge of energy, something unmistakably raw and alive. It pulsed with every strike against the creature, sending shimmers of light cascading across the room. The entity shrieked, the sound reverberating like shattering glass. "No! You cannot! I own you!" With a final swing, the shard connected while the creature lunged, its arms reaching for Martinez. Darkness erupted, limbs flailing as the shard glowed brighter than ever. Streams of light burrowed into the creature, illuminating its form. "I am the curse of this wretched place. You will never escape." It roared, and with that, the room shifted violently. They felt an explosive burst of energy, ripping them from their reality. Suddenly, everything went black. When Martinez opened his eyes, the world spun. The same room awaited them, but the air was electric with a different kind of energy. A door stood ajar in one corner, a soft glow emanating from beyond. "Is it gone?" Ramirez whispered, his voice barely audible. "I don't know," Martinez replied, gathering his strength. Yet something in the air felt heavy with truth, a promise that whatever lay beyond the door was a revelation, an answer to their salvation or a deeper descent into madness. "Do we move?" Johnson asked, his grip tightening around the shard, eyes flickering with dread. Martinez glanced back to the pulsating shadows, a mischievous laugh echoing faintly in the distance. "We have to," he said, his voice unwavering. As they stepped toward the glowing door, a voice slipped through the cracks once more, laden with sinister anticipation. "You thought you could escape. But I am everywhere." What awaited them in the light? Could they truly break free, or were they only exchanging one nightmare for another? With trepidation, the trio approached the glowing door. Each step felt like a weight lifting, yet the ominous echoes of the creature's voice reverberated in their minds, wrapping around them like an oppressive fog. The air shimmered with anticipation, thick with the scent of old wood and distant ash. "What if it's a trap?" Ramirez's voice trembled, his eyes darting nervously. "Maybe we should find another way." Martinez shook his head, determination hardening his features. "There's no other option. We need answers. This might be the way out." With a deep breath, he pushed the door open. It creaked loudly, the sound slicing through the anxious silence. Light poured in, illuminating a vast space that felt almost otherworldly. The walls seemed to breathe, pulsating with a soft glow. It was nothing like the oppressive darkness around them. "Stay close," Johnson whispered as they stepped inside. The floor felt warm beneath their feet, almost alive. Images flashed through Martinez's mind, fragments of laughter, voices calling for help, and the haunting laughter of the creature. As they entered further, the light enveloped them, revealing a room filled with bizarre artifacts, tattered books, ancient-looking devices, and mirrors that reflected unsettling visions. Shadows flickered at the edges, almost alive, and for a moment, Martinez felt a dangerous pull toward the mirrors. "Look over there." Johnson pointed at a massive ornate mirror at the far end of the room. "What's that?" As they moved closer, the reflections began to shift. Instead of their own images, they saw distorted versions of themselves, twisted and dark, embodying their deepest fears. Martinez's hands shook at the sight of his reflection, appeared desolate and afraid. What is this?" Ramirez stammered, backing away. "It's showing us who we are or who we could become," Martinez muttered, grappling with the emotion welling up inside him. He took a step forward, entranced by the image staring back, but halted before he could touch the glass. "It's a trick," Johnson warned, his voice trembling. "We can't let it lure us in. Remember what that thing said, it's feeding off our fear." Martinez closed his eyes for a moment, forcing himself to focus. The shard was still clutched tightly in Johnson's hand, glowing faintly, and that gave him a flicker of hope. "We need to establish our ground again. It's not real." We are stronger than it thinks, he urged, voice steadying. Just then, the air shifted. A cold wave washed over them, and the mocking laughter resonated through the room. You thought you could escape me? The creature howled, reverberating in the space. You think you can stand against your own reflection? The mirror rippled, distorting reality further. Figures began to claw at the surface, their faces filled with despair. From behind the reflections, shadowy hands reached out, attempting to pull them in. Martinez felt a cold grip around his ankle, a phantom hand dragging him toward the mirror's edge. No! Fight it! He screamed, trying to shake it off. Ramirez and Johnson grabbed him, pulling him back with all their strength, the warmth of their resolve wrapping around him in a shield. Together, they yelled, channeling their defiance into the shard. The light intensified. A blinding flash erupted as they thrust the shard forward toward the mirror, the piercing glow cutting through the shadows. The distorted faces froze, their screams silenced as the light engulfed them. The creature reeled, caught off guard by their united stand. But the light began to dim too quickly. The shadows were regrouping. The entity screeched, furious. You think this is the end? How delightful. I'll be waiting, and trust me, the end is far worse than anything you can imagine. The room trembled as cracks spiderwebbed through the mirror. The pull became more insistent, threatening to consume them whole. Martinez. We have to go now. Johnson shouted, fear laced into his voice. But just as they turned to leave, the door slammed shut behind them, trapping them in the radiant chaos. Desperately, the energy surged within. Martinez. The only way is through. And with that, they lunged toward the mirror, hearts pounding, voices raised, hoping to break the cycle of horror that held them captive. What emotions lay hidden behind the frightened faces? Could they truly shatter the darkness with their light, or did this mirror merely reveal a deeper abyss? The moment they hurled themselves toward the mirror, the world shifted. It was as if they crashed through a veil, a barrier that separated their reality from the tumultuous chaos within. Colors throbbed and twisted around them. For a heartbeat, it felt as though they were liquid, slipping through a strange realm of light and shadow. Martinez's heart raced as he clutched the shard tightly, feeling its energy pulse in sync with his fear, and maybe a hint of hope. The other side of the mirror was a swirling maelstrom of thoughts and emotions, desperate cries echoing like whispers lost in a storm. Faces rose and fell among the abstract shapes, figures resembling friends and family, twisted with anguish and tears. A sudden jolt of cold stole the breath from his lungs as a dark shape broke the surface of the mirror. The creature's features coalesced, sharp and menacing, its eyes nothing but empty voids, promising despair. Laughter bubbled up around them, insidious and sharp, as if the shadows themselves delighted in their terror. Welcome. The creature crooned, its voice slithering into their minds like a shadowy serpent. You thought yourself strong against your darkest fears? Let us see how you fare inside. Martinez felt a wrenching in his gut as the ground fell away. They were no longer in the room full of artifacts and magnificent light. It was as if the mirror had consumed all but the essence of their fears. He glanced around. Ramirez was pale, sweat trickling down his brow, and Johnson looked terrified, shaking independently. Together. Martinez shouted again, the word rising through the chaos like a beacon. We have to face this. The air crackled with tension, each breath a reminder of the sinister shadows swirling around them. Martinez stepped forward, gripping the shard, channeling every ounce of confidence he could muster. This is not who we are. He yelled, his voice cutting through the darkness. The shadows recoiled, swirling like a storm. Desperate, Martinez raised the shard, its light flaring back to life. Look beyond the fear. He urged as the light pooled around them. Together, they raised their voices, trembling at first, then gaining strength, chanting each other's names like a mantra. Ramirez's voice soared, filled with desperation and resolve, pulling the thread of unity tighter among them. We want to be defined by this. They pressed forward, the light pushing against the shadows surging toward them. Faces materialized from the void, haunted expressions that mirrored the trio's hidden insecurities. In that moment, Martinez understood, these weren't just reflections, they were pieces of their souls, fragmented and trapped. Hold on. We're stronger than this. Johnson shouted, his eyes alight with fierce determination. With renewed energy, they lunged toward a particularly dark patch. Together, they struck the shard against it, a brilliant flash exploding before them. The shadows writhed, shrieking as they were blasted away, the light burning fiercely. But as the darkness dissolved, whispers filled the air, softer yet eerily insistent. Forget your past, it will come for you, they sighed, each word curling like smoke around their minds. Suddenly, they were hurled back, the surge of energy lost. In the chaos, the mirror shook violently, fragments of their tortured reflections flew towards them like shards of glass. Each cut a hot reminder of their fears, but still, they pressed on, driven by an overwhelming need to break free. Then the laughter boomed louder, echoing off the walls that were thinning like paper. You think you can defy your fate? It's just the beginning. Martinez locked eyes with Johnson and Ramirez, a fierce spark of resolve igniting within him. We aren't done yet. In that moment, amid the whirl of uncertainty, the door reappeared, a fleeting promise of escape. But what waited on the other side? Could they truly return from the brink of despair? As they charged forward, hearts pounding in synchrony, a part of Martinez couldn't shake the feeling that something far worse awaited them beyond this fragile facade of hope. What awaited them on the other side? Would there be solace or a trap laid by the very creature they sought to escape? The door swung open, light spilling out like a promise. It was almost blinding, illuminating their paths in stark relief against the oppressive shadows lurking behind them. Martinez's heart raced. They could feel the weight of the creature's gaze lingering, its darkness pressing against the back of their necks like icy fingers. Go! He urged, pushing forward with every ounce of determination. They surged into the light together, entering what felt like an untouched world, untouched by fear but fraught with uncertainty. The room was vibrant, colors exploded into their vision like bursts of life. The air tasted fresh, and they quickly glanced at one another, confusion lining their faces. Had they truly escaped? Maybe we did it, Ramirez murmured, breathing heavily, eyes wide. Before further optimism could take root, a low growl echoed from behind them. The pulse in Martinez's chest sped up again, a violent reminder that the lingering darkness wasn't done with them yet. I think it's following us. Johnson yelled, panic igniting in his voice. He peered back, the shadows rising from the edges of the room like a tide. We can't let it catch up. The vibrant room began to vibrate, a chaotic dance of color swirling together, and pulses of the past encroached. They could hear whispers, echoes of despair mixed with shouts of defiance. The very space around them felt alive, pulsing with energy. We need to break this cycle, Martinez concluded, his voice steady, yet his insides twisted with dread. Whatever that thing is, it feeds off our fears. We need to confront it, show it we aren't afraid anymore. As if at that moment, the walls convulsed. Shadows rippled and stretched, familiar faces appearing from the depths, crying out for help, their mouths formed into silent screams. Martinez felt bile rise in his throat as he recognized their pain. It mirrored his own insecurities like a grotesque reflection. The ground shook, sending vibrations that rattled through them. We need to stand together, Ramirez said, pushing back against the rising despair. We can't let it win. They tightened their grip around the shard, its light flickering but still their proof that hope existed somewhere. Get ready. Martinez's voice boomed over the chaos, rising over the howls of shadows and cries of lost souls. Take a deep breath and remember who we are. This isn't just about surviving, it's about claiming our lives back. With a renewed sense of purpose, they focused on the monstrous shape forming at the center of the room, the creature manifesting like dark smoke swirling against vibrant light. It wheeled toward them, laughter chilling, vibrating through the air like a physical blow. You think you can defeat me? You're all nothing but whispers in the dark. No. They shouted together, their combined voices erupting with power. They surged forward, thrusting the shard towards that ghastly void. We refuse to be afraid. The glow intensified, a radiant beacon pushing against the smothering darkness. It exploded outward in a flash, illuminating the dimness, casting the creature back. It hissed and twisted, but they pressed on, a solid line, unyielding and resolute. Face your fears. Martinez bellowed. Together they faced the encroaching darkness, hearts thrumming as one. The walls pulsed, shadows receding while the faces trapped within the paintings erupted with color and clarity, freed from the depths of despair. As they pushed the shard deeper into the creature's very essence, the room began to shake violently. The walls split open, revealing fissures filled with torment. They could hear cries, screams of suffering lost to the void. Let them go. Set them free. They cried, tears spilling as they fought against the oncoming tide. With each pulse of light, more figures emerged, the very shadows churning into awareness, a chain of souls finally breaking, flying to the light they had almost lost forever. One last furious howl escaped the creature's lips like a final wail before it imploded upon itself, drawing the last shadows back into its shattered form. In a blink, there was silence. No whispers, no shadows, just the remnants of light gleaming softly in the aftermath. They stood panting, bodies shaking from the struggle. Is it over? Ramirez whispered, stepping tentatively forward. I think. We did it, Johnson breathed, tears brimming at the edges of his eyes as he looked around in disbelief. As they surveyed their surroundings, the room transformed into something peaceful, the air now feeling light and clean. The remains of the creature were scattered like ashes, and the portraits? They now depicted scenes of hope, laughter, warmth, light spilling from beyond. Look! Martinez pointed. Where shadows had once loomed, steps now unfolded before them, leading toward the doorway, a tangible path toward freedom. Let us go home, Ramirez whispered, a smile breaking through the tension, his eyes brightening with the promise of a new dawn. As they left the echoes of the past behind, they stepped onto solid ground, hearts lighter than air. This time, there was nothing but a bright horizon ahead. They emerged outside, greeted by the dawn, the colors bursting in a brilliant sunrise. The warmth wrapped around them, a welcomed embrace heralding new beginnings. Together, whispered Martinez with a realization born from battle. Together, echoed Johnson and Ramirez, their voices harmonizing in a pledge of unity that had seen them through darkness and despair. They took a step forward, looking toward the open road ahead, leaving behind more than just shadows. They left behind the weight of fear, all while knowing that within them lay a fire stronger than any darkness could ever extinguish. In that moment, they felt it, a shared understanding that truly, they had conquered the night. As they walked into a brighter future, that familiar voice whispered softly amidst the cool morning air, you can face anything now. Don't let this be the end. If you want more heart-pounding stories, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button right now to help feed this story to the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your theories and reactions about this insane conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.